They say love doesn't always knock loud. Sometimes it just slips in and stays. I'm Alex Leman. These stories, they're about that kind of love. Tender, tangled, a little messy, but always real. So, settle in and let your heart listen. True Wealth of the Heart. Chapter 1. Storm over Midtown. Rain slapped against the glass as Marcus pressed his palm flat against the window, heart pounding like a bass drum. He had just heard the text ding on his phone, Alicia's latest message, dripping with emojis and dollar signs. Dinner's at 8, don't be late. He swallowed the knot in his throat and spun around. His wife lounged on the velvet sofa, scrolling through her phone without a care. The condo's lights shimmered off her diamond studs. It looked like a scene out of a magazine, but Marcus felt like he was drowning. "Hey, babe," he said, voice tight as thunder. "You think you can look up sometime tonight?" Alicia glanced over, one perfectly arched brow rising. "I'm kinda busy," she replied coolly, tapping her screen. "That brand collab isn't gonna post itself." He closed his eyes, blinking back the sting. He caught sight of Zoe in the corner, taking selfies with the city skyline behind her. Her lips formed a pout so practiced it might as well have been carved in stone. Malik hovered by the bar cart, pouring Marcus a stiff drink. The kid's 19, but already wise beyond his years. He nudged his father with a gentle elbow. "You okay, Pops?" he asked. His deep brown eyes glowed with concern. Marcus managed a shaky grin. "Yeah, just caught in the rain, man." But inside he knew the truth. He was sick of this life, sick of feeling used. Thunder rumbled outside, echoing the tension in the room. Marcus's gaze flicked to the framed photo on the mantel. Him and Alicia on their wedding day, smiling under a bright Atlanta sun. The memory felt like someone else's. He set his glass down, heart hammering. Tonight was the night he tested them. Later, at the dining table, Alicia had arranged her designer plates just so. Zoe's phone lit up with likes as she posed, lips parted, eyelashes fluttering. Malik sat beside his father in silence, watching with wide, honest eyes. Marcus cleared his throat. "Family meeting," he said softly. Alicia rolled her eyes. "You sure you're okay, Marcus?" she asked, a sarcasm dripping like rainwater. He nodded. "I got some news." A hush fell. Marcus felt his pulse in his ears. "Thanks for being here," he said. "I love you all, but I lost everything." Zoe's phone clattered to the floor. Alicia's jaw dropped. "What are you talking about?" she spat. "I'm serious," he replied, voice cracking. "Stocks tanked, banks froze our accounts. We gotta move out tonight." Zoe bolted up. "You're kidding, right? This is a joke?" She stormed to the window, pressing her nose against the glass as if the skyline could whisper a solution. Alicia flared, manicured nails tapping the table. "You useless clown," she snapped. "How do you lose billions overnight?" Marcus didn't flinch. He looked at Malik. The boy's face was pale but calm. "We're going to pack a bag and head to my dad's place in Brunswick," Marcus said. "No frills, just us," Zoe shrieked. "Brunswick? That hick town?" She stomped away, phone clutched tight. Alicia rose, silk dress rustling like a storm cloud. "You dragged us here for what? Some sick prank?" Marcus exhaled slowly. "I needed to know who's real." Alicia's laugh was bitter. "Real? You're trippin'." She stormed out of the condo, heels clicking like thunderclaps. Malik moved closer, placing a steady hand on Marcus's shoulder. "It's gonna be all right, Dad," he said softly. Marcus swallowed and forced a smile as lightning flashed beyond the windows. In that moment he realized the truth. Only his son stood by him without condition. The rain beat harder, drumming on the rooftop like a promise that sometimes the storm clears the air. Chapter 2. The Great Collapse. Marcus jolted awake to the sound of his phone buzzing like a warning drum. He squinted at the screen. Markets had crashed overnight, his accounts frozen. Heart thudding. He felt the floor tilt beneath him. He raked a hand through his hair and stumbled into the living room where Alicia was already pacing, heels clicking against the marble floor. Rain-soaked streetlights cast shadows through the floor-to-ceiling windows of their midtown Atlanta condo. "Marcus, what's going on?" Alicia hissed, voice sharp as broken glass. "Why is my feed blowing up with rumors about a bank run?" Zoe appeared behind them in leggings and a hoodie, eyes wide but defiant. Alexis, their neighbor, had called saying news vans were circling the building. Marcus closed his eyes, tasting bile. "I'm sorry, y'all," he began, voice thick. "We lost everything." Alicia froze mid-stride. "Lost everything?" she repeated, laughter shaking her tone. "You're trippin', right? You better tell me this is a joke." He shook his head, sinking into the plush sofa. "No joke. I've moved every dollar into a private account. I told my aide to shut down the companies for now." Zoe gasped, phone slipping from her hand. "You did what?" she cried. "Dad, you're messing with us." Outside, thunder rolled over the city like an angry spirit. The condo's chandeliers trembled. Marcus lifted his chin. "I had to know who was real." Alicia's eyes flashed. "Real? You mean who'll stick around without the cash?" She turned on her heel, voice low and dangerous. "You insane?" Zoe hurried to her side. "He's right, Mom. We gotta pack." She grabbed a suitcase from the closet, ripping it open as if it were a lifeboat. Alicia's face contorted. "Pack my Louis Vuitton?" she snapped. "I'm not moving to some lame town just 'cause you had a bad day on Wall Street." Malik stepped forward, calm but firm, like a cool breeze in a storm. He wore a simple tee and jeans, his hair still damp from a late-night jog. "Dad's got a plan," he said. "We're heading to my grandpa's place in Brunswick, Georgia. It's not fancy, but it's home." Alicia turned on him, eyes blazing. "Don't you talk to me about home, kiddo. You've never known real life." Zoe clenched her jaw. "That's not fair," she whispered, voice trembling. Lightning split the sky, illuminating their faces in stark relief. Marcus rose, shoulders squared despite the tremor in his hands. He crossed to the window and stared out at the city he'd once ruled. "We're leaving tonight," he said, voice surprisingly steady. "No more drivers, no more chefs, just us." A deafening clap of thunder punctuated his words. Alicia scoffed, but for the first time her smile faltered. Zoe's legs shook as she slammed the suitcase shut. Malik moved to help his sister, wrapping an arm around her. Moments later, they were on the street, dragging suitcases through puddles, headlights reflecting in the water like broken stars. A convoy of luxury cars had disappeared, replaced by one battered SUV Marcus had bought for this journey. The engine sputtered to life. As they pulled away from the condo, the rain washed the city lights into ribbons, and Marcus felt a raw freedom he hadn't known since he was a kid, playing by his grandfather's farm. His heart pounded with fear and hope. Behind him, Alicia stared out the rear window, lip curled in silent fury. Zoe leaned forward, whispering to Malik. He gave her a reassuring nod. Marcus gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, and exhaled. He didn't know what awaited them in Brunswick, but for the first time he believed this storm might clear the path to something real, something rooted in family, loyalty, and love. And in that moment he felt the first spark of possibility flicker alive in his chest. Chapter 3. Backroads to Hope. They rolled off the highway onto a dirt road that cut through a tunnel of pine and oak, the headlights carving golden paths through the night. Marcus gripped the wheel, heart thrumming like a drum. Rain had tapered off, leaving the air heavy with the scent of wet earth and pine needles. Zoe pressed her forehead against the glass, breath fogging the window, eyes darting at the dark shapes of trees. Alicia sat rigid beside her, arms folded, barely breathing. Malik rode shotgun, flashlight in hand, scanning the world beyond the windshield. As the off-road vehicle bounced over ruts and puddles, Marcus felt a mix of dread and something he hadn't felt in years: real adventure. They crested a small hill and saw it, a weathered white cabin with peeling paint and a sagging porch. A single lantern hung by the door, casting a warm circle of light in the cool night. Smoke curled from a brick chimney. Crickets chirped, and somewhere nearby a barred owl hooted. They piled out, suitcases thudding against the wooden steps. Melissa, Marcus's elderly aunt who'd agreed to vouch for them, stood in the porch glow. She wore a faded head wrap and a kind but stern gaze. "Welcome home," she said, voice soft like worn velvet. Her eyes flicked over Alicia's heels and Zoe's designer bag. "Hope y'all packed light?" Zoe huffed, slinging her bag at her feet. Alicia brushed raindrops from her hair. "This is home?" Alicia's voice tremored, half laughing, half crying. "Auntie, I'm missing my Mani." Melissa just smiled and pointed inside. "Come on now, let's get you out of those wet clothes." The cabin smelled of wood smoke and lavender sachets. Inside, 2 threadbare sofas faced a chipped wooden table. A pot of soup simmered on a wood stove, its steam twisting toward the rafters. Marcus set down their bags and sank onto one of the sofas. His shoulders ached, but his heart felt lighter. Malik dropped beside him and handed him a bowl. "Grandpop used to make this," Malik said, inhaling the savory aroma. He said, "Good food fixed half your troubles." Outside, Alicia slipped into the kitchen, fingers grazing the simple counters. Zoe wandered to a window, peering out at the loblolly pines swaying in the breeze. In that quiet, Marcus realized how loud their condo had been. Traffic, chimes, endless notifications. Here, silence wrapped around them like a blanket. Suddenly, a scrabble of paws at the door startled them. Melissa opened it to reveal a black lab whose tail wagged furiously. "This here's Shadow," she said, closing the door against the night. Shadow nosed Zoe's hand and licked her palm. Zoe laughed, the sound soft and surprised. "He's cute," she said. Alicia paused in the doorway, watching her daughter. For a moment, the old family warmth flickered between them, but the spell broke when Alicia's phone buzzed. A single notification. A brand rep asking why she'd ghosted them. She shoved the phone into her pocket, face hardening. Marcus stood and gathered empty bowls. "Let's clear the table," he said. Malik followed him to the sink. They washed dishes under the lamplight, hands warm in the soapy water. The world outside whispered secrets. A whippoorwill called, and the wind rustled through the screen door. Back in the living room, Marcus sank into the sofa again. "I know this ain't easy," he said quietly. Malik settled beside him. "It's different, but it ain't all bad." Marcus looked at his son's steady face. "You really think we'll make it?" Malik nodded. "I know we will. We just gotta stick together." Upstairs, Zoe flopped onto a lumpy mattress. She stared at the rafters, heart racing with regret. She'd mocked this place, but now each creak and whisper felt alive, more honest than any penthouse party. A tear slid down her cheek. She hugged her knees and whispered, "I'm sorry, Dad." In the next room, Alicia lay on a faded quilt, staring at the ceiling. Her mind spun with plans, calls to friends, proposals to pastors, anything to claw back the old life. But the breeze drifting through the open window carried a different message, one of stillness, reflection, and a chance to find herself beyond the designer labels. Downstairs, Marcus returned to the porch. A sliver of moon peeked through the clouds, illuminating the cabin in silvery light. Shadow trotted over, nuzzling his hand. He scratched behind the dog's ears and looked up at the sky. For the first time in years, his own breath didn't taste like fear. He felt a quiet resolve blooming in his chest. Whatever tomorrow brought, hard work, laughter, tears, he knew this night would be the turning point. They had traded locked doors for open skies, empty hallways for whispered trees. And in that exchange, he sensed a new story taking root, one of hope, healing, and the real wealth of family. Chapter 4. Temptations in the Pines. Sunlight filtered through the tall pines, turning the dusty road outside the cabin into a river of gold. Marcus and Malik were crouched in the garden patch, fingernails caked with soil as they tended newly planted corn. The air smelled of fresh earth and honeysuckle, and cicadas droned like a distant choir. Marcus glanced at his son, pride warming his chest, until a sharp bark of laughter from the porch cut through the peaceful morning. Alicia had swooped onto the porch with a fresh robe tied at her waist, phone glued to her hand. She waved at Marcus, lips curved in a practiced smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Morning, y'all," she said, voice light but tense. She tapped out a text. "I'm off to meet Pastor Joel. He's going to help me find some work around here." Malik straightened and exchanged a look with his father. "You sure that's a good idea?" he asked gently. Alicia shrugged, adjusting her robe. "Hey, what choice do I got? I can't be out here digging in the dirt all day." Before they could answer, Shadow burst through the screen door, tail wagging. A silver pickup rumbled up the drive and stopped just past the gate. The engine cut, and a tall man with crisp khakis and a pressed polo stepped out. He flashed a bright smile at Alicia. "Hey there," he said. His voice had the smooth drawl of someone used to calling the shots. "Heard you might need a hand." Alicia's eyes lit up. "Pastor Joel, thanks for coming." She stepped off the porch, meeting him halfway. He offered his arm, and she draped her hand over it like a queen taking her crown. Marcus and Malik watched in silence as Joel escorted Alicia toward his truck, chatting about church events and volunteer needs. The pastor's gaze skimmed her curves, lingering too long. She laughed at something he said. The sound was too bright, too eager. Meanwhile, Zoe slipped away toward the dusty road into town. She clutched her phone, hoping for a signal. At the local general store, she spotted a lean man leaning against the counter. Amber eyes and a crooked grin. Mr. Brown, the owner of the roadside bar. He waved her over. "City girl, right? What brings you here?" he asked, voice low and inviting. Zoe tried to hide her nerves. "Just visiting family," she said, tucking a stray curl behind her ear. Mr. Brown nodded, sliding a bottle of iced tea across the counter. "On the house," he said. "I like your style." Zoe felt a flush as she sipped the cold drink. His closeness made her heart flutter. He suggested she drop by later for some fun times, and Zoe found herself agreeing before she could think twice. Back at the cabin, Marcus and Malik finished weeding the row. Marcus rubbed his back and stared at the thick woods beyond the fence. "This place has its charms, son," he said quietly. "But things are shifting fast." Malik nodded, picking up a watering can. "Just gotta keep each other straight." Late that afternoon, Alicia returned alone, cheeks flushed and hair wind-blown. She clutched her phone like a lifeline. Pastor Joel offered me a spot helping with Sunday service, and maybe a little stipend, she announced. Her smile was triumphant, but her eyes flicked to Marcus as if daring him to react. He swallowed. That's great. His voice sounded small. Zoe slipped in behind Alicia, face pale. Dad, she breathed. Mr. Brown texted me. He wants me to meet him tonight by the old oak. A chill ran down Marcus's spine. Alicia's triumph faltered. What? She said sharply. Zoe shrugged, tears prickling. I thought he was just being nice. Marcus felt the ground tilt. He stepped toward them, heart pounding. This isn't what family does. His words thundered in the quiet cabin. Alicia's jaw clenched. Zoe looked away. Outside, Shadow whimpered, sensing the tension. In that moment, Marcus knew the true test was just beginning. The pines whispered around them, as if warning of a storm gathering in their hearts. And somewhere deep inside, he felt the spark of a fable being written, one about choices, loyalty, and the courage to resist temptation when it gleamed like gold in the pines. Chapter 5. The Magnolia Showdown. The afternoon sun slanted through the magnolia branches, scattering dappled light across the small clearing in front of the cabin. Marcus leaned against the worn wooden fence, chest tight as a drum. His heart thudded in his ears when he saw Alicia stride toward him, clutching a folded envelope from Pastor Joel. Zoe trailed behind, lips pressed in a hard line, phone in hand. Shadow padded at their feet, tail wagging nervously. Malik stood to one side, arms crossed, but eyes steady. Alicia snapped the envelope open and waved the check. There, see? I got paid to sing in the choir. It's not much, but it's something. Her voice was sharp, half relief, half defiance. Zoe kicked at a patch of grass. You think money buys respect, Mom? You're performing in a tiny church, not selling designer bags. Her words cut through the warm air like a sudden breeze. Marcus pushed off the fence. We're not trading one problem for another, he said, voice low but firm. He took a step closer, sun glinting off his wedding band. This family is together, no side hustles, no secrets. Alicia's smile faltered. She tucked her hair behind her ear and nodded at Zoe. You don't understand. I needed some power in my hands. I'm tired of waiting on you, Marcus. Malik moved forward, voice calm as oak. Powers respect, Ma, but secrets break trust. He looked at Marcus, then back at Alicia. I've seen you flick through cash on your phone like it grew on a tree. That check's a start, but it ain't our family's worth. A flicker of hurt crossed Alicia's eyes. She glanced at Zoe, whose phone buzzed with a text from Mr. Brown. You free tonight? Zoe's face went pale. She shoved the phone in her pocket. Stop it, she snarled. This isn't about me. A sudden breeze rustled the magnolia leaves, petals drifting like pale snow. Marcus raised his chin, sunburned and serious. Look at us, he said. We came here because we needed real. Real work, real love, real honesty. Not some side deal or secret fling. He turned to Zoe. And you, no more running off. Zoe's jaw quivered. Fine, she snapped, tears stinging. But this place sucks. She stormed past, boots kicking up dust. Shadow bounded after her. Alicia watched her go, shoulders trembling. She bit her lip, eyes traveling back to Marcus. He folded his arms, waiting. The quiet stretched, filled only by cicadas and distant church bells. Finally, Alicia swallowed and folded the check. Okay, she whispered. No more secrets. She paused, gaze softening. I'm sorry I didn't trust you. Marcus's shoulders eased, but his eyes remained gentle. He stepped forward and offered his hand. Alicia hesitated, then took it. Their fingers braided together, rough and steady. Malik smiled and clapped his sister on the back. Zoe glanced over, red-rimmed eyes meeting her father's. He nodded and mouthed, proud. As the sun dipped, the magnolia petals drifted down around them. Shadow circled their feet, content. The family stood beneath the tree, not perfect, but unbroken. In that moment, Marcus felt the hard truth of the fable he was living. That true wealth wasn't in checks or clicks or clout, but in the courage to face each other honestly. And under the magnolia's watchful boughs, they found a fragile peace, one that could grow into something strong if they kept tending it together. Chapter 6. Dawn of True Wealth. Before dawn broke over Brunswick, Marcus was already awake, leaning against the cabin doorframe. A sliver of moon cast long shadows across the clearing, and the hush of night seemed alive with secrets. He watched as Alicia stirred inside, the soft glow of the lantern tracing her silhouette through the window. Zoe and Malik lay curled under blankets, breathing slow and steady. Marcus's heart thrummed. This was the moment of reckoning. He stepped inside and knelt by Alicia's side. She blinked up at him, eyes heavy but wary. "Hey," he whispered, "I need to show you something." She rubbed sleep from her eyes as he handed her his phone. He'd reactivated one account that held enough to set things right. The screen glowed, a six-figure balance untouched. Alicia's breath caught. You never lost it?" she breathed. Marcus swallowed. "I needed to see who cared when I had nothing. I'm still good. But more than that, I know what really matters." He reached out, brushing a stray curl from her face. Her eyes flicked to the window, as if afraid their children might overhear. She stepped back, voice soft as a prayer. You did all this for us." He nodded. "This family's worth more than any portfolio. I kept enough to take care of us, but I needed our hearts set right first." Outside, Zoe and Malik stirred and crept down the stairs, drawn by voices. They emerged on the porch, eyes wide in the moonlight. Marcus cleared his throat. "Morning, guys." Malik offered a respectful nod, while Zoe wrapped her arms around her dad's leg. Alicia swallowed hard, stepping into the glow. "I'm sorry," she whispered, voice cracking. "I forgot what real felt like." Zoe wiped her eyes. "Me too." Malik's gaze shifted to the distant east, where pale light began to chase away the night. "We did good," he said. Marcus drew in a breath, then turned toward the road. The old SUV waited, engine rumbling softly. "Let's head back," he said. "We got a new life to build with our real wealth." They packed their few belongings, the cabin's worn door closing behind them with a soft thud. The road ahead was dusty, the pines rustling secrets overhead. As they drove, the sky blossomed pink and gold, the first rays glinting off the hood. In the back seat, Zoe slipped her hand into her mother's. Alicia gave her a quick, grateful squeeze. When they reached Midtown Atlanta, the city was waking. Skyscrapers caught the sunrise, their windows blazing like embers. Marcus guided the SUV into a valet lane of their old condo building. They piled out, hearts pounding. Passers-by in crisp suits and heels flicked surprised glances at their sunburned faces and dusty clothes. Marcus approached the valet and spoke softly. "Park it here," he said, tapping the keys. Then he turned back to Alicia and the kids. "We build from here, all of us together." Zoe caught his eye and grinned. "I've been itching to move back anyway." Her laugh was bright and real. Inside the lobby, the marble floors gleamed. Alicia paused by the front desk and pulled Marcus aside. "You could have just reset the companies," she whispered. He smiled. "But then we wouldn't have had our story." He took her hand and led her into the elevator, Malik and Zoe close behind. The doors slid shut, reflecting their eager faces. As they rode up, Marcus looked at his family, feeling a warmth stronger than any fortune. Outside, waiting rooms and bathrooms, corridors and offices, an opportunity shimmered, one born from honest hearts, not hollow wealth. They stepped onto their floor as the doors opened, sunlight pouring in. The condo's polished hallway felt like a promise. Marcus paused, breathing in the scent of fresh paint and possibility. In that instant, the lesson of their journey settled deep. True richness came not from numbers on a screen, but from loyalty tested in hardship, from love proven under a magnolia tree, from the courage to be vulnerable when the stakes were highest. As the elevator hummed away, the city pulsed with life. And for Marcus and his family, each breath was a reminder that they were wealthy beyond measure, rich in trust, in unity, and in the simple, unbreakable bond of those who stand together when the storm has passed.